Hello everybody, in today's video we're going to be going over a thunderstorm outbreak over parts of the Tennessee Valley and the Mid-Atlantic as well. We already have an enhanced risk of severe weather over much of Tennessee, Arkansas, and northern Alabama and northern Mississippi as well. We have a much larger area of slight risk which carries from parts of the central United States into the East Coast, especially for areas like North Carolina, Virginia, and Maryland. We're going to be going over all of that and more in today's video, so make sure you are staying tuned all the way until the end. Here's what the current National Weather Service page looks like, and we currently have some winter storm watches and winter weather advisories up for northern Washington state and the higher elevations in parts of northeastern Minnesota and one county in northwestern Wisconsin. We also have some more winter weather advisories, and then we have some high wind watches in the dark brown, almost a golden color, for much of the northwest, and some high wind warnings in effect for northern Montana, with some red flag warnings in effect for northeastern Montana as well. We have frost advisories in effect for northwestern California, as well as some flood watches which cover much and pretty much the entire state of Tennessee through northern Alabama, northern Mississippi, and eastern Arkansas. And then we also have, I believe those are dense fog advisories in effect for eastern North Carolina, eastern South Carolina, and then carrying along the Gulf Coast as well from Florida to about Louisiana and even a little bit of Texas as well. So this is what the current mesoscale discussion looks like from the Weather Prediction Center. So this is their mesoscale precipitation discussion, and they're talking about the threat of heavy rainfall anywhere within this pink area, within this kind of pink bubble looking area for central Tennessee and even some of the areas surrounding there. They're talking about how the warm front is going to continue to lift further to the north by 12 p.m. Central Time today. We're looking at this frontal system moving further to the north, and eventually it will be north of the Tennessee-Kentucky border, and it'll continue to head further north and to the east. And as it does that, it's going to be pulling in a lot more warm, moist air. If you look at the wind direction on this page, you can see that the winds are coming straight out of the southwest, somewhat like that, which you can tell by the icons on the screen. So we definitely have an interesting setup. We have a very favorable setup for flash flooding, unfortunately, and even a little bit of severe weather also in the mix there. And if we look at mesoscale precipitation discussion number 73, which is also currently in effect, they're talking about hourly rain totals of 2.5 inches of rainfall, with locally amounts closer to 4 inches of snowfall. That's within 1 hour of that rainfall. So you get one little band of rainfall to just stick over your same area, and you have a very flood prone situation. And you can see that the main area that they're highlighting is within this area right here. So the area surrounding Memphis, Tennessee is where they're expecting some flash flooding as well later today. Here's what the Storm Prediction Center is showing for their categorical outlook, and you can see that we currently have a marginal risk of severe weather in that dark green area. That covers much of the central and eastern part of the country. And then you can see that we have a larger area of, or actually a smaller area, but still a fairly large area of slight risk for parts of the Tennessee Valley back through the middle and lower Mississippi River Valley and some of the surrounding areas. We have a slight risk. And then we have an enhanced risk for today over parts of central and western Tennessee, northern Alabama, northern Mississippi, and southeastern and eastern Arkansas. And all of those areas have the threat of seeing some fairly potent severe weather. If we look at the Day 2 outlook, you can see that we have a very large area of marginal risk, which goes from New Jersey and Pennsylvania all the way down to southern Alabama, southern Mississippi, and central Georgia. So a very large area of marginal risk of severe weather. We have a slight risk of severe weather also for much of the southeast and also into the mid-Atlantic there. And the two bullseye states are going to be Virginia and North Carolina. And I think especially right around the border of Virginia and North Carolina is where the most severe weather should set up on Sunday or tomorrow. This is what the flash flooding risk looks like, and this is the risk of excessive rainfall or flash flooding. We have a moderate 20 to 50% risk in that red, and that's for much of Tennessee, northern Alabama, northern Mississippi, and east central Arkansas as well. So a fairly high risk that we do see some flash flooding in those areas. Here's the Day 2 outlook, and you can see it's mainly just for the Appalachians from West Virginia down through into Alabama and Georgia. So right hugging along through the higher elevations of the southeast and the mid-Atlantic is where we have that next flash flooding risk for for tomorrow, and again that would be for Sunday. And this is what the models are actually showing for the expected radar. So we're going to be playing this out for you guys. The low pressure by this point is actually down here somewhere right around in South Texas. And this is going to be moving further to the north and to the east. And as it continues to do that, it's going to go in between this high pressure, which is to the north. So we have an area of high pressure right down here. We have another area of high pressure, which is back through here. So we have another high pressure area right through here. And then we also have a little bit of storminess that's back through into the Great Lakes. So you can see how the only area that it could move through is through the southern United States, up through the Tennessee Valley and into the Ohio Valley and the Northeast as well. And so that's going to be the general track of this. Anywhere south and east of there is when we're going to be dealing with some severe weather. So this would be by later today. So I would say probably right around 1, 2, 3 p.m. Today. We're looking at over parts of North Carolina, Virginia, Tennessee, dealing with a little bit of severe weather. This is an initial round of severe weather, but the main activity is actually what you see popping up down here. That's what's going to become your more severe and significant band of storms. So you can see that by later today. This would be in the evening hours. We have more severe thunderstorms rolling through the Tennessee Valley area. That low pressure continues to head further to the east. So the low pressure, which was back through Wisconsin and Minnesota producing snowfall, has now moved further to the east. It's now in Michigan by this point, and on the southern end of this, we have a low pressure down in southern Texas that's kind of connecting the two frontal systems. And then as that front continues to head further to the east, so will the severe weather. So the severe weather is going to be associated right along that frontal system. And by the way, on the back end of this, you're going to go from the 70s in terms of temperatures all the way back down to the 50s and 40s. So very, very cold air relative to this time of year is going to be on the back end of this frontal system. We're going to see a 20 or 30 degree temperature drop, and dew points are going to drop even further from 65 degree dew points down into the 20s and even a few teens as you get further to the west. So we really are dealing with an interesting and very dynamic low pressure system. You can see that by Sunday in the morning hours, so this would be by right around 7 or 8 o'clock Central Time, we're looking at a line of storms moving through Ohio, Kentucky, Central Tennessee, Northern Alabama, and Central Mississippi as well. And again, that's going to continue to head further to the east. Also notice that these gray lines on your screen indicating the isobars, you can see how they're kind of oriented in a V shape, and that goes right along where the severe weather is. So if you were just looking at an upper air map of this, you would also be able to tell where the storm system and where the line of storms is, because you can follow where the intersection of the two millibar lines are, and that would indicate where the severe weather is. If you ever see this V shape like you do on your screen right now, that's when you know they have a fairly potent severe line of storms, and you usually see this when you're at a decent line of thunderstorms. You won't see this pop up all the time, but when you do, you know that you have a little more instability within the atmosphere. And then you can see that that entire area of storminess heads further to the east. So this is by Sunday in the early afternoon. So tomorrow in the early afternoon, we have that line of storms continuing to head further to the east, and it's about to cross over the Appalachians, and then it's going to re-strengthen. You can see that we have a large area of a cold front and a very, very expansive cold front, which drapes down all the way to the Gulf Coast. We have a warm front, which is back through here, probably right around here, with an occluded front right up through here. So this is generally what your storm system looks like anywhere south and east of this area. So if you were to live anywhere, I would say within this area right here, you have a fairly good shot of seeing some severe weather, because you're within that warm sector, and that's where most of your severe weather is going to occur, within that warm sector area. So if we play this forward a little bit more, you're going to see that that line of storms heads through the mid-Atlantic. Still some severe weather left for southern Virginia, North Carolina, even back through South Carolina and southern and central Georgia as well. Most of the storms back up through New England are going to be non-severe, mainly just heavy rainfall, maybe a little bit of thunder and lightning, but nothing definitely that's going to cause any damage. And then here to be by later, very late on Sunday into early on Monday morning, maybe even a little bit of snow on the western end of this. And that's going to be, again, because we have a very, very potent area of cold air that's going to be heading into the eastern United States behind this storm system. So it's going to be very, very cold, dry air right behind this very humid, moist air that's ahead of this system. So here's what the CAPE looks like. The convective available potential energy. It's measuring how much energy and instability is in the atmosphere. And typically you want to look for values that are going to be in that blue color, so above 500, which would be, anywhere within this sort of blue color right here. And if you're anywhere within that or even above that, that's where I would say you have a fairly decent shot of seeing a good thunderstorm developing. So this would be by right around this morning. Here's what the current CAPE values would look like, and we're looking at many values that are over 500. So we definitely have sufficient CAPE. As you go through the day today, we still have a fairly good amount of CAPE. This would be by late tonight into tomorrow early in the morning, and we have CAPE values that are above 500 going all the way up into West Virginia and Ohio, and then on the other side of the Appalachians, also back through the Carolinas, Georgia, and Virginia as well, also with CAPE values that are over 500. And you're going to see that as that low pressure, which by this point is over Lake Ontario right here, and as that continues to head further to the north and east, we're going to see these CAPE values continue to tread further to the north, and because of that, we will see the general area of severe weather also move a little bit further to the north. So you can see those CAPE values over 400, over 500, so definitely enough to support some thunderstorms. And then you can see the CAPE values do go down. You still do have some decent values of maybe 300 to 600 in a lot of these areas, but nothing that's going to be too potent as the front moves by. Here's what the high temperatures look like, because we definitely have warm enough temperatures in most of these areas. You can see that anywhere over parts of the Ohio Valley and the Tennessee Valley is going to have temperatures in the 70s, and that would be for today. And also along the East Coast, we also have temperatures that are going to be in the 70s and even 80s back through into the eastern Carolinas. So very warm temperatures for this time of year. And if we look at tomorrow, even warmer along the East Coast, you can see that 80-degree line moves all the way up into southeastern Virginia, eastern North Carolina, and much of South Carolina as well. And you're in the 70s for the remaining areas of the Mid-Atlantic and the Southeast. So definitely warm enough temperatures, but you can also see where the front has moved by. So you have high temperatures that tomorrow are going to be in the 40s and 50s for many of these areas that just one day ago we're seeing high temperatures in the 70s and even mid-70s at that. So here's what the dew points look like, because you're going to see even more of a drastic change as that front moves by. You can see that we have dew points that are above that 60-degree threshold up through parts of the Tennessee Valley and parts of the Mid-South as well. And then if we continue this forward, this would be by later today. You can see those 60-plus degree dew points rise even further up into Kentucky and southern Indiana as well. And then you can see as the front moves by, we have dew points that go from the 60s ahead of the front over parts of the Carolinas and the Mid-Atlantic, all the way down into parts of the Ohio Valley and the Great Lakes, down into the 30s and the 20s. So you can see that's almost about a 30 to 40 degree dew point drop, and that's going to be very indicative of a dynamic system that's pulling in a lot of warm air, but also dragging down a lot of cold air on the other side of the storm. And then you can see behind the system, everybody's down into the low 30s for dew points and upper 20s at least, even a few teens as you get further to the north, and also if you're in some of those higher elevation areas. Now here's what the maximum wind gusts are going to look like, because we will have wind gusts that are probably going to be over 40 miles per hour in a lot of these areas. So you can see that we have wind gusts that are all over 40 knots or about 45 miles per hour in much of these areas from the Tennessee Valley and the Ohio Valley eastward, and we even have a few values that are over 50 in parts of the Carolinas and southern Virginia as well, and back through into parts of New England and the Northeast. We also have some values that are going to be quite high. So we saw a very windy day yesterday for much of the Ohio Valley and into the Northeast and areas even further south of there, and that's going to happen again. It's going to be a little bit shifted further to the south. So now instead of the Ohio Valley seeing the worst of the winds, where they saw gusts closer to 70 miles per hour in some of those areas, it's not going to be over parts of the Carolinas and Virginia that see gusts not close to 70 miles per hour, but maybe closer to 55, 60 miles per hour. So definitely tie down any loose furniture that may be outside, because that may blow away due to the gusty winds. And finally, here's what the precipitation amounts look like. So the rainfall amounts from just today and tomorrow And we have some rainfall amounts that are going to be over 4 inches, especially over Tennessee, northern Alabama, northern Mississippi, and east central Arkansas. Pretty much that exact same area that the Weather Prediction Center had under a 20 to 50% chance of flash flooding. So they did a really good job of tracing out where the heaviest rainfall is expected to be. And even though this is over about a 48-hour time frame, most of this rain is going to fall within a 6 to 12 hour time frame, maybe even shorter. So even though you see this and you're saying, oh well, it's through Monday morning, you're probably spreading that out. In these type of thunderstorm events, this is not happening over a 24 to 48 hour time frame. This is happening over a 3 to 6 hour, maybe 6 to 12 hour time frame as that line of storms rolls through. So you're going to see a very, very intense band of rainfall quickly move in and out, and during that time frame you're going to deal with a lot of flooding, and unfortunately those rain gauges won't be able to really keep up with that, and you're really going to have to monitor that situation closely. If you get a flood warning on your phone, make sure that you do go to higher ground just so that you can avoid any of that flooding that may be occurring in your area. So that is going to wrap it up for today's video. Please consider liking the video, subscribing, and turning on notifications, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.